Behavior has decided to cancel their anti-tunnel and anti-slug measures coming in the next patch of Dead by Daylight. Now, what does this mean? They've said they'll take it back and work on some tweaks and bring it back in a future PTB. Who knows when that might be, or how long those tweaks might last, or what they might take. My thought is on this, the changes had some issues in a few spots, but I don't think they were as bad as everyone made them out to be. But I also don't think they're gonna ultimately, like, target the problem. The big thing with tunneling is that it creates the 1v3 scenario. The game is balanced around being a 1v4 for most of the game. And for killers, it's optimal to get into the 1v3 as fast as possible, because once the survivors lose that resource, they don't have the people to do everything that needs to be done. If you get a survivor out, the next time you get a hook, there's no one left to be doing a gen. You hook a survivor, then you go to where the survivors are probably working on a generator, you chase a survivor, that leaves one survivor who's got to go across the map from wherever they may be to the unhook, possibly heal. No one's working on gens in that time. If you've funneled out someone with 3 straight hooks and you brought pain res, you used your pain res on the one pain res stack, but you still have a fresh hook on all of the other 3 survivors, which means you can use pain res in the 1v3 3 times. So you have this huge advantage because survivors don't have the people to be working on gens during this time. There just isn't. As long as you can chase and end the chase in the, like, 45 seconds it takes for the survivor to cross the map, unhook, possibly heal, then they'd have to cross back and find a gen to work on and get back to the gen with progress. So, like, that's a lot of time to get the next down, and then they still have to unhook and you go to interrupt the gen, and then it's constantly... you just ping pong between the remaining 3 survivors, and they can never get gen progress because you chase them. They always have to be running to unhook. Unless someone has, like, a perfect, spectacular chase, you don't get any time. And even once they have the perfect chase, if you can't get all of the remaining gens done, then you have to have another one after that, once they finally go down. You know, if they have a 2-minute chase, if you have 3 gens left, you get 2 gens done, but then that last gen doesn't get done, and then, you know, it hits the pain res, and then the other 2 have to now go running around to unhook and being chased, and you just don't have the people. So as long as that situation exists, tunneling will remain, like, as strong as it is right now. Right? There's nothing that they could put in anti-tunnel measures, aside from literally stopping you from killing someone, that would make tunneling the unoptimal play. Even the 25% repair speed helps a little, but again, if you can't spend the time on a gen, it doesn't do a whole lot. It makes that little time you can spend better, but it doesn't solve the problem that you just innately have one less person to be doing something. There's no one doing gens. So, and if the killer sees everyone alive, I mean, if they know where everyone is, you always have the info. That's a huge macro thing. So, like, getting out of the 1v3 as survivors is incredibly difficult if someone's hard tunnel, because the killer keeps all their, like, pain res stacks. You can still have pop, you can still do all of your regression things, which is what there's some crazy takes I saw that said, what about the unique hook incentives for killer? Keep that, and then someone gets tunneled out, and then the 1v3 is just insanely strong for killer because they get the base kit pop and everything else. That would be crazy. Like, there's nothing that stops the killer from, like, regressing anything or doing anything in the 1v3 that would make that less overpowered. So, yeah. that is the ultimate problem I see with tunneling and the 1v3, is you can never... You need to make up for not having the extra person. Otherwise, getting a person out of the game as fast as possible will always be better. My thought is that there exists a perk called Deliverance, which allows you, after you've unhooked someone, to unhook yourself. But you can only unhook yourself on your first hook. Once you've been hooked for a second time, even if you have unhooked another person and Deliverance is active again, you don't have the opportunity to unhook yourself on second hook. So, I think a base kit Deliverance after a person has died would be a good counterbalance, because it makes up for not having the extra person, but it doesn't do everything, and you can easily counter it. If you hard tunnel someone out, your first 3 hooks are on one person, everyone else gets the ability to unhook themselves on their first hook. They've never been hooked, so they can unhook themselves. Everyone else can do it. But you hook each person once, and then tunnel someone out to 2 more hooks, you've got 6 total hooks, everyone's been hooked once, there's no Deliverances in play. No one can unhook themselves because they'd all be on second hook. Right? So if you hard tunnel someone, you go up against this balancing feature to give survivors a chance in the 1v3. Someone can unhook themselves, but they would still get the broken, there wouldn't be anyone to heal them, so you would still have a downside as survivor, you would still have some risk in that you're playing injured now, but you have that slight little bit more resources where someone can be working on a gen during the 1v3, and you're not stuck in the loop. Now, of course, if killers have good chases, you're still going to be chasing injured survivors who've unhooked themselves. You're still going to get your pain res and your regression and everything, right? Like, it's still not going to be easy way back from the 1v3, but if you've hard tunneled someone out, there's a chance. And if you spread the hooks and everyone's been hooked once, well, then nothing changes, right? But that should encourage people to spread out the hooks earlier in the game so that there's never a Deliverance to come into play. And I wouldn't mind then seeing some incentives for unique hooking come into play later in the game too. Right? Like at that point, if you start adding some more base kit regression after you've like unique hooked everyone once, or even before that, like you could even say, you know, some kind of base kit pain res where the first time you hook someone, it's an extra regression event. Right? Then you can start adding some incentives because you've got that comeback ability, that fight back in the 1v3. As long as the 1v3 stays as strong as it is right now, it's not going to discourage tunneling. And the only way I see how you can do that is if you can make up for not having one person. There just aren't enough people to do everything that needs to be done as soon as someone gets hooked. So that's why I think the base kit Deliverance, after someone dies, you can only use it on your first hook. So if you've never been hooked, you get it. If everyone's been hooked once, so there's nothing to worry about. You can add some incentives like a base kit 10% pain res on unique hooks. You could even use Behavior's unique hook method, which is just not hooking the same person back to back, and you get the pain res. Like, that's when I think incentives can start being added and start doing a lot more interesting things in that, because yeah, then you can have a fight in the 1v3, and then when the game gets going, you can have a little bit more towards the end of the game. I also think another thing, like on the other side of the base kit Deliverance, would be a base kit like No Way Out. Right? No Way Out, once you've hooked everyone once, No Way Out blocks the gates for 12 seconds, plus another 12 seconds, I believe, for each unique hook. So I think, in total, No Way Out can block the gates for 1 minute. And then you can open the gates. Then you can start opening the gates. I think either slightly slower gate opening speed and a little bit of base kit No Way Out would go a long way towards making the end game feel like more of a part of the game, because that's always the thing, right? Like, when you're discussing what tunneling does, and it's like, oh, you have this many gens left or this many gens left, it's because the post-gen game feels like almost nothing, because survivors start opening the door, it takes like 18 seconds to open the door or something, you've got like nothing there. If you add a bit of Basekit No Way to hide, you know, let's say like 10 seconds, 20 seconds by default, and then add 10 seconds for each unique hook, then you've bought some time for the killers before the gate can be opened, before everyone can get out, where you can end the chase that you're already in. You know, you could get the kill that you were already about to get, and then you could still get more. Right? It adds a little bit more gameplay in the end game, and everyone feels like they have made progress in the game. Survivors have completed the gens, that's a big milestone. Killers don't feel like the game is over after the gens have been completed because they have this end game chance to do more things, right? So having a bit of more emphasis that this part of the game exists, I think would also help everyone feel like tunneling isn't as necessary. Plus, unique hooks, adding more time to the Basekit No Way Out, more incentive not to tunnel. So I think that would put the game in a good state where tunneling is like actively discouraged, and if someone tunnels, then survivors don't feel like they're completely out of the game. It would still suck for the one survivor, but everyone else would still feel like they're in a game, right? Because if you're in a 1v3 and there's 3 gens left as a survivor, you're like, this is going nowhere. Nothing's gonna happen here, you know? Like, you're just stuck in this, like, endless cycle where you're all just running from hook to heal to chase to hook to gen for 5 seconds, back to chase hook. Like, you're just stuck in this loop, and it's just, eventually, you're just gonna finally lose the game. Like, it's inevitable at that point. So, having some bit of hope in that 1v3 like that, I think would go a long way to improving the game state. So, to recap, Basekit Deliverance after a kill. You can still only use it after you're hooked for the first time. You still get broken after unhooking. And obviously you're still like injured and everything. Then Basekit No Way Out in a certain way, which incentivizes having unique hooks. So both things incentivize having unique hooks, but the game isn't over for killer as soon as the gens are done. So they have a bit of fight left in them before the doors can be opened. And then, yeah, even possibly a little bit of Basekit pain red in there. For unique hooks. Even as far as saying the unique hooks, like, as behaviors definition, which is just not the same person you hooked last. I think those will go a long way to improving it. And using pain res instead of pop makes it so that every killer can use it as effectively as every other killer, right? Because obviously S-tier killers like Blight or Billy can use pop much more effectively than a killer who has to walk everywhere like Chapter, right? So I think those things would be a lot healthier of a solution to where we are with tunneling. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, and thank you for watching.